Allowing that the sound of this bell pervades the universal realm, bringing luminous white light to the black iron perimeter of hell, removing in an instant the suffering caused by the three evil ways. A mountain of swords is destroyed, and all sentient beings enter enlightenment together. Homage to the Master Teacher, Vairocana Buddha, compassionate Lord of the Lotus-born universe, expounding the treasured verses of the sacred golden text, contained within precious cases written on jade scrolls. Each decimode interpenetrates and the universe becomes one. Every realm is united with all other worlds. The truth is contained in 1,095,048 words of the utmost vehicle's consummate teaching. Homage to the Asataka Sutra, expounded by the Buddha. To understand the Buddhas of endless time, just penetrate this phrase. Everything is created by mind alone. The mantra of shattering hell. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Samotagujinam. Om Vajrapala Sikiriji. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Samotagujinam. Om Vajrapala Sikiriji. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Samotagujinam. Om Vajrapala Sikiriji. Vowing now for the rest of my life not to give rise to extraneous thoughts, following only Amitabha Buddha. Thought after thought will constantly merge with the jade rays of this jade-like brilliance, each instant never leaving the qualities of his golden form.
We're not live. We're not live. People can't hear it.
It's still,
I just chatted and asked, and I got 2 responses that said no. It looks like we're here, but when you look at mine, it isn't. And then I asked, and 2 people said no, can't hear it.
it says we're blind.
But over here it says waiting for Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. And 2 people have said no, they can't hear it. Yeah, Young 2 says, on my end, it says waiting for Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. That's exactly
That's
what
what I
mine said.
saw too.
Yeah.
Oh, there will be a time I will not have to call you.
I'll plug in 21st.
Susan? Okay, on my computer, it says live, and we're 5 minutes, 56 seconds into it. But other people are saying it says waiting. It says still waiting for Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. That's the messages we're getting. But it says live over here, and you know when I go in front of it, I can see myself. It's live for you. It's live for Susan.
There's 2 people here that say no.
Okay, so there really should be no reason why other people can see it as well. Okay, she's got 2 different accounts and she's watching me on both.
Okay, all right, we'll just have to go. There's
Just respond that way to the comments. Thank you. Okay. Have them try to reload YouTube and try again. Thank you, Suzanne.
Okay.
Yep, I'm sorry. All right. Okay. Thank you. She says it's working.
Jeez.
Yeah, in fact, my Paul, my guy who's living with me right now, now they're watching him, okay, and they can hear us, but he says that we can't chat. Shane says, so I can't chat. He can hear, so we're on. All right. I apologize for the disruption in the morning bell chant. We will pick up where we left off. For some reason, live chat seems to have been disabled. And we don't know why, but we'll try to figure that out before the end of service.
And if you're having trouble, reload.
If
you're having trouble, then reload YouTube, please.
Yes,
Give
if
that
you're
a
having
try.
trouble, then reload YouTube and see if it comes up live. Thank you very much. Holding them all and bearing witness to the universal Dharma realm. Empty spaces but thread, leaving nothing unconnected. There is nowhere that Nirvana Buddha is not present equally. Through contemplation, seek Amitabha of the western shore. Homage to the great teaching master, Lord of the western shore, the Buddha, the Tathagata of infinite light. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. The land of ultimate bliss has 10 kinds of adornment. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. It is adorned with Dharmakara's vow, his cultivation cause. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the powers of Amitabha's 48 vows. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with Amitabha's name and the brilliance of his life force. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the jeweled images observed by the 3 Mahasattvas. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the peaceful bliss of Amitabha's western world. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the jeweled rivers running with pure meritorious water. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the jeweled basilicas with halls of wish-fulfilling jewels. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with lengthy days and nights. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the pure land's 24 kinds of pleasure. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Adorned with the 30 kinds of beneficial merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha, who is unparalleled in heaven or on earth. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He is also unmatched throughout the worlds of the 10 directions. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He has seen the annihilation of self in everything in the world. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. There is no one who is like Amitabha Buddha. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can keep track of thoughts as numerous as all the dust motes in the universe. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can quaff all the waters in the universe. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. his marriage. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha is omnipresent. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Keep your thoughts on him and never forget, as thoughts probe that place of no thought, the six sense gates will constantly emanate light of purple and gold. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha's face, like the full moon, is at the front of the hall of ultimate bliss. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. His jade excrescence and his gold form radiate through space. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. If a person call his name for only a moment, they will constantly consummate immeasurable merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Along with all sentient beings, I vow to enter the sea of Amitabha's great vows, and to ferry across sentient beings, so that I and others may simultaneously complete the path to Buddhahood. The sublime mantra of the original mind of Amitabha Buddha. Anyatamu Aritara Samaha. 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 Good morning, Sangha. Aren't transitions fun? We've had some technical difficulties this morning. It appears that many of you are not able to chat because apparently I hit a wrong button and said that this was made for kids. So apparently you cannot chat on when I click it made for kids instead of made for everyone. Now I'm going to take this off, but I wanted to show you what the Reverend Yang Su made for the Dharma Council. And it's these wonderful masks, and they have Buddha print on the front, and they're reversible, and the one I got on the back has pirates. It just doesn't get any better than that, okay? So let's start this morning by reading the three refuges together. And we say together, I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the three jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Now we will recite together the Heart Sutra. If you have your books, it's on page 8, the very next page. Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna paramita is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha. Maha prajna paramita hridaya sutra. Well, good morning again. You can see this a little bit better. It's beautiful fabric of Buddha and a gift from Reverend Yansu. I'm going to talk briefly this morning, and then Reverend Yansu will have some remarks, and he will be reading remarks that Venerable Isu sent over to be read. She could not be with us today. And then the Venerable Shuji will follow that with remarks of her own. The recent changes on the Dharma Council with Venerable Ansu and Reverend Susan leaving the council, and Venerable Shuji Minsmeyer and Venerable Isu Hillebrand joining the council, have culminated in a period of re-examination and introspection regarding how we have viewed ourselves as a Buddhist temple and how we will create our identity moving forward. So the title is Everything is Impermanent. Now, this temple was specifically created in Grand Rapids as a Korean Buddhist temple with ties to the Korean Taego order. In fact, when I received the precepts at this temple, the Reverend Dr. Parks from the Taego order in Korea came to Grand Rapids to personally administer the ceremony. Over time, it became apparent that the Taego order was not a good fit for an American Buddhist temple because of the rather what we felt to be stringent restrictions on individuals choosing or wanting to be ordained in any way. There were restrictions on women who wanted ordination because that was really frowned on in the Taego order. And there were restrictions even on men wanting to receive ordination. When I first inquired of our teacher at the time, Bakwan, I was told that because of the limitations by the Taego order, I was too old to be ordained as anything. I could receive the precepts, but that would have been the end of the line. Now, this is an order, the Taego order, who receives students as young as 6 years old, who go on then to live in the monasteries, for their lives and study and continue to study and study and study and study until they begin their own journey as Dharma teachers and monks. So our previous teacher, Dakwan, decided to leave the Taego order, and at that point, a change occurred. We continued our journey as an independent American Buddhist temple without affiliation to any external order, but we still identified as being from the Korean tradition. Now, it wasn't until the Reverend Susan pointed this out to me that in reality, the only vestiges of a Korean tradition we have held on to are the morning bell chant, the chanting of Yebel, and the way the altar is set up with Kwansum on one end and Jajam, Kwansum was over here, and Jajam over here on the other side, and the gray robes that we typically have worn in the past. That's the only Korean influences that we had when we moved forward as an independent American Buddhist temple. Now, in fact, when you look at Korean Buddhism in and of itself, as a whole, it is taken from many other Buddhist influences. There is very little in any of the Buddhist influences that we can call pure and unadulterated. Almost all of them have drawn from other traditions. So, moving forward from this point on, what can you, the Sangha, expect to see? In actuality, very little will change. We consider ourselves to be an American Western Mahayana temple. Mahayana means the middle way. So we are an independent American Western Mahayana temple. We understand one thing, that the Dharma is the Dharma, is the Dharma, is the Dharma, period, regardless of what tradition you may come from. And here at the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple and Zen Center, you can expect and will receive the Dharma as handed down by the Buddhists some 2,600 years ago. One change that might occur is that you can now expect to receive the Dharma from a very diverse set of perspectives based on the Dharma teacher's own training. What you hear from the Venerable Shuji, the Venerable Aisu, the Reverend Yangsu, or myself might sound a little different when even talking about the same subject, but it will not deviate in any way from the Dharma. That is our commitment to you. You can expect us to continue to be a welcoming and affirming temple open to all sentient beings. The Dharma Council is now comprised of 2 female clergy and 2 male clergy. And we are just in the beginning stages of a training program for 4 new Dharma teachers. We now have a dedicated Sangha school director in place of the Reverend Susan, who committed herself to the children and family programming for so many years, and we give many deep bows to her for what she created. Kwan So Jennifer Dewey will now be stepping in as the full-time Dharma school director, and because she had already started training for that position with Reverend Susan, she will seamlessly be stepping into that position when the temple reopens. Another change that has taken place over the past 2 years is that there is now clear and unequivocal oversight of the Dharma Council built into the bylaws by the Board of Directors to prevent clergy from overstepping their bounds or engaging in unethical behaviors. And we as clergy welcome that position. It is our belief that clergy needs to be held to a higher standard. Now, we're each going to talk a little bit about our background, so I would like to do that now. My introduction to Zen came in the late 60s when I was introduced to Alan Watts. And from Alan Watts, I was then introduced to Suzuki, Shunryu Suzuki, who started he was the first Japanese monk to be sent over from Japan and he started the San Francisco Zen Center. And I became more and more intrigued because, as opposed to the very strict, rigid, deity-based religion that I had come from, Buddhism seemed to make sense to me. What really made sense to me was the concept that no one was coming to save me. That I had to do the deep heart-mind excavation with the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. And when I read those words, right or good or proper, it was ultimately up to me to define what they meant to me. Right work, right intention, right meditation, all of those things. It comes down to me and the decisions I was going to make. Throughout college, I studied more and more of Buddhism, and then I entered the military and had a chance to travel. And through my travels, especially in the East, to Japan, I visited temples and just became more and more interested and involved. But there was really nothing going on in the Midwest at that time. When I moved back to Michigan, I found that the closest temple to me was from the Soto tradition, and it was the Myoshinji Temple in Monroe, Wisconsin, which is a 6.5-hour drive each way, where I would faithfully attend their weekend sesshin and any retreats that they might have. I always would attend those, and that's where I first received the precepts in the Soto tradition, and therefore where the rakusu that was handmade and presented with my teacher's writing on the back, Myoyu Roshi, at the time I received the precepts. As the others address you, they will be sharing some of their background as well. Now, perhaps the most important change here that I want to talk about today is not within the temple leadership, but what the leadership needs from the Sangha. This is your temple. As leadership, we need you to step up and take ownership and responsibility for the well-being of the temple and the Sangha. The board of directors handles the administration. The Dharma Council handles spiritual growth and teaching and classes. But it's up to you to take ownership of this temple. Now, this will have a different meaning to each of you, but we truly need you to examine your heart minds and ask these questions. Why am I here? What am I looking for? What can I offer? What am I offering to support the temple and the Sangha? If I am offering something, is there more that I can offer? If I'm not offering anything to the temple and the Sangha right now, why not? I want you to think about this. I want you to sit with it. Whenever I was struggling with a teacher, with an issue, both of my teachers would say they would not answer my questions. They would simply ask more questions, and then they would say, "Go sit with this, and then come back and talk to me." Invariably, when I would go sit with the issue, with the challenge, with the problem, with the question, and I would be still, I would know. The answer would arise for me. That's what I need. Now, I understand that there are some of you who are able to post questions in chat. I don't know how you got there, and I apologize for pressing the wrong button. Like I said, transitions are fun, and there are new learning curves. But if you are able to post comments, we would like you to start posting not so much comments, but questions that you may have about the temple moving forward. Before we sign off, and then we will attempt to answer those questions to the best of our ability. If you are not able to post on the chats in this live stream, I would invite you to send your questions to me at amco@zengr.org, and I'm also in the newsletter or the website, and we will compile those and we will answer those questions to the best of our abilities online for this week's newsletter. So you have two options. You can either ask your questions now, if you're able to post questions. If you're not, just send them to me in a short email, and we will take it from there. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Reverend Yang Su, who will do the next portion of this Dharma presentation.
Good morning, Sangha. Just a little bit about me. I started my meditative life in AA in 1987. And shortly thereafter, I joined a church called Unity, School of Christianity. And the simple description of that church is it's a Buddhist church. And why I say that is because the ideal there is Christ nature, like our Buddha nature, or Christ consciousness. So Jesus wasn't somebody to pray to, Jesus was a way shower. I studied and took the test to become a teacher, and then slipped away from that discipline for various reasons and became a Quaker for several years. I've been with the temple almost 8 years. I received the gifts of the precepts in April of 2013 and continued my studies and became a Dharma teacher in April of 2019. And I've taken the Bodhisattva commitments twice. So this is from Isu, the Venerable Isu. Good morning, Sangha. It is with deepest gratitude and humility that I share a few words about my background and practice life as a returning Dharma Council member. My background in Buddhism goes back more than 25 years when I came across a little book called Being Peace by Thich Nhat Hanh at the Western Michigan University bookstore. I sat down in the aisle of that bookstore, read it from cover to cover, and then spent the college food money my mom gave me to purchase the book. After that, I began exploring Buddhism in earnest. After college and living in Washington, D.C., I joined a Tibetan Buddhist temple and began deepening into the path of Buddha in a more intentional way. I have engaged in formal training in both Zen and Dzogchen and was ordained as a Dharma teacher at the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple in 2017, and also completed the training as a monk/nun in 2018. My foundational practice is metta, a practice I have engaged in almost daily for 20 years. Because of this eclectic background, if anyone asks me what kind of Buddha I am, or what lineage I follow, the response is that I follow as fully as possible the teachings of the Buddha. Just that, as a teacher, I strive to share the Dharma with others along the path. How wonderful it is to be able to explore the depth and breadth of Buddhism through many different, diverse, and eclectic lenses. Two other things to mention about my background are that I am a program manager at the Kaufman Interfaith Institute, and that I'm beginning a master's degree program at GVSU in social innovation, which is the study of the intersectionality of many different aspects of identity, such as race, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, religion, etc., with societal concerns. As a Buddhist, I have a special interest in the intersection between Buddhist philosophy / spirituality and the internal transformation leading to social action. After a 2-year hiatus from teaching at the temple, I look forward to being in service to you, the Sangha, once again in any way possible to support you along the path. I will be rejoining you fully toward the end of September. May you all be at peace. May you all be at ease. May you be healthy in all realms of your being. May you be happy. And with a deep bow, I sue. And now, let's complete this job. And now I'd like to present the Venerable Shuji.
Good morning. First thing, I am not venerable. I feel I'm much far from venerable. In my tradition, we don't use reverend. If you have to say something to me to honor, it's Roshi. Roshi means old man, and I'm much closer to being an old man than I am to being venerable. So, Suji is fine. I don't need any honorific titles. I am fine with being Suji. Second of all, I'd like to thank Grand Rapids Zen Center and the leadership asking me to come back and be part of your Sangha. It's wonderful to be back. This is a great space. And when I first visited Grand Rapids, when my partner's place of employment was trying to woo us, I came here. And I came here on a cold January morning, and it was so inviting, and it's nice to know that you're still so inviting. So anyway, a bit about myself. I'm Soto Zen, and one of our main tenets of our belief is no self. So it seems really odd to talk about me in a no self way, but I started practicing in the 80s. I'll say seriously, read a lot, blah, blah, blah. I was ordained as a priest in 2011. And part of my tradition is a monastic tradition. So I spent quite a bit of time at monasteries. And I'm a firm believer in monastic training. Something about going and dropping yourself for 3 months at a time, really get to meet what my friend Elizabeth always said, you hit your sneaky parts. And I think that's what Zen has done for me. It really helped me look at my stinky parts, however you want to define them, and either learn to deal with them or change them, or sometimes even ignore them even more. But the monastic training is part of my tradition. And even though I'm part of this very nonsense Soto Zen, I will bring you Taste of Soto. And I hope, I'm looking out at everybody as if they're here, and I hope you enjoy your little Soto niblets. I got Dharma transmitted, which is the brown robe in my tradition, 2018, which is my official, you are off as a Zen master. And being called a Zen master is almost as scary as when I got my name Suji, which means practicing compassion. In my tradition, your name is something you need to work on. Yeah, and I've been trying to figure out how to practice compassion for the last 20 years. And being a Zen master fills me about as much fear as it does being when somebody says, Suji. It's like, yes. So, touch on Soto Zen and my feelings of Soto Zen and what I hope to bring here. Soto is, as an insult, they used to call it farmer Zen, because anybody could practice. And the illiterates of the time would come to Dogen's temple and practice. And so they said, aha, he's teaching farmer Zen. And Dogen said, you bet. All you have to do is sit. And the little song that I have, I call Just Sit, going back to the Dogen idea. Anybody can practice Zen, anybody can reach enlightenment. You just sit. And in that sitting, you face the wall, you face yourself. It's like, oh, okay. And that self, I don't want to even call it reflection because it's just being there. That is how we release ourselves from the three poisons: greed, anger, and delusion. The hardest of which is delusion, because a good delusion, by definition, is very well hidden. On that cushion, facing the wall, breathing is how you reach that point where the three poisons no longer guide you. Three pure precepts we have. The first of which is do no harm. The second of which is do good, or maybe vice versa. I always forget those two. But the third one is live to benefit all beings. That is why I am here on this earth, and that is why I sit, so I can follow those three precepts. The one my cliff notes of Buddhism is live to benefit all beings. If we can do that, we're good. As soon as I say that, it's like, oh, but we're not non-dualistic, so we're good, bad, neutral, all at the same time. We are here on the cushion and taking ourselves in to our day-to-day life. So no matter what you do, you're practicing. Okay, I'm babbling. We sit. Farmer Zen. That is Soto Zen, and that is what I hope to bring you. And instead of getting an email set up, I chose to go out and work in my garden. So hopefully maybe this afternoon I will get Suji at Zen GR set up. No promises, because my garden is calling me and my garden is needing me right now. Anyway, if you have any questions for me personally, direct them to the temple and I will answer them hopefully sooner than later. Peace. Can we sit now?
We won't, just tell them we won't do meditation today. We're just going to have after service sit.
Okay.
Sit with their questions.
So after CSS. I'm not familiar with the.
Yes. Usually we would do meditation now, but we're going to
Okay.
bypass that.
We're bypassing meditation, and I will always call it Zazen, so pardon me. We will sit with our questions.
There are no.
We will now chant the closing doctrine on page 9. God of atonement for all unskilled action ever committed by me since of old on account of my forgetfulness, greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, I now atone for them all. God of compassion, vast is the robe of compassion, formless, filled of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teaching for the benefit of all sentient beings. The four bodhisattva vows, all being one body, I vow to liberate endless blind passion. I vow to uproot Dharma gates without number. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain. Go in peace.
As we said, if you have questions, please send them via email to the temple, to any of us, and we will compile the answers. They will be presented. You have my apologies for having hit the wrong button.
and you're not being allowed to chat today. Have a good week, and we will see you here next week. Thank you so much.